What's happening, and welcome back. Today on the podcast, don't just settle for a career when this or when a calling is possible. So today what we're going to do is unpack, and I've talked about this before, but we're going to unpack this today. And I think today's lesson is probably one of the most important lessons that I've given in a while. Not that all of them aren't. And the reason why I know that it's pretty important is the resistance that came upon me in doing it today. So let's go ahead and jump in. Like what is a career? And a career is one of these things where you know exactly what it takes to go down the path that you potentially see or even the path you want to go down. It's kind of like, when we look at college is set up where, hey, I want to go into accounting. They say, okay, well, for some reason, all the degrees are 4 years. Like it's weird. Like, why do they have to be 4 years? But all the degrees are 4 years. Everyone, think of every bachelor of a science degree, every bachelor of arts degree are all 4 years. Can someone do it in 3? Yeah, that's possible. They break it down. It says you're going to do this in 4 years. So we know exactly how much time it takes. Check out the mindset. We know how much time it takes. Then they say, hey, you don't even have to think about what it takes to get there. We're just going to show you these are all the classes, these are all the workshops, these are all the labs. Maybe you got to get a job. Like these are all things you got to do. And then we will give you access to a career. And so when I look at that, like I wrote down this title a couple of days ago. No, was it yesterday? It was yesterday. I wrote down this title a day ago. And I wrote it down because I was looking at the questions that are part of the Account for Life introduction, at least the one that we used to play. And this one satisfies, how do we account for our careers? And so as I was thinking about presenting an idea here when it comes to how to account for a career, what came to me was don't settle for one. Why would you settle for a career when a career is limiting? Why would you settle for doing something that's not necessarily going to get you ultimately where you could potentially go that you didn't know you could go? Why would you settle for something that would put you in a position of lack or wanting? Why would you settle for anything that wouldn't give you true, absolute freedom? Why would you do that? That's an excellent question. And the answer would be, I don't know. Why would I do that? Why would I say, you know what, I'm going to do that because I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that because I don't necessarily want to think. I don't necessarily want to have to try and figure it out myself when that's the problem with a calling. A calling is a path. A calling is a path. Just like the other day, we talked about maybe a couple of days ago, Proverbs 19:21. It says, "Many are the plans in a man's heart, but it's the Lord's purposes that stand, that prevail." God gave each and every one of us a path. Now, because He understands our life, He understands time, He understands our environment, He understands, culture, He understands all the stuff we're going to have to put up with in order to even find the path. Then He has to say, man, they're probably going to settle for going into accounting. Okay, so if they settle for going into accounting, then I still that the path still has to be available. Oh, well, they settled to go into being a doctor, then the path still has to be available. Oh, they settled to go into being a teacher, then the path still has to be available. So God set it up so that it didn't matter what we chose. That choice still leads us to the path that He already had for us. See, the problem that we have with this thing called career and then this thing called calling. Calling is something that can't be taught. Career is something that is taught. Calling is one of these things that a person has to discover things. Career, a person doesn't have to discover anything. A person just has to do something. A calling is one of these things that, it sets you on a path of independence. And when I say independence, it's independent in the sense that no one else can have the path that you have. Where in a career, anybody can have the same career, have the same type of job. So the problem that I see with anybody discovering their calling and their purpose, and then ultimately getting to their or going towards their destiny, the problem is it doesn't look like everybody else's. I recently published a book, Living Life on the Next Level. And I remember when God told me to write the book, it was May of 2020. Yeah, like literally the world was shut down. And it wasn't, I think at the time, let's see, yeah, they had shut it down and then you could then move around. By May, you was able to start moving around a little bit. So God sent me out on a journey. He says, why don't you drive up to see your parents in Delaware? Just take a drive. And while you're at it, why don't you write this book while you're driving? And I'm like, huh? Write the book? He says, yeah, why don't you write the book? He says, well, because you have it already, you already have the book in you. So just talk it out. Okay. So I call my mom up. I say, hey, Mom, I'm going to drive up to see you guys. It was during the week. It wasn't even like a weekend, maybe a Tuesday or something. I have to look at the date. And so I get in the car. I have an outline and I start driving and I start talking and I'm recording the book, Living Life on the Next Level. And that was May of 2020. And so, what you think about it? The book just got published, right? So the book is just published in 2024. Now, well, Jay, when did you finish writing the book? I finished writing the book July of 22. I think June of 2020. No, I'm sorry. No, let me back up. I've technically finished it in 7 days. Yes, I finished it in 7 days total, because I think I may have had like 80% done or 70% done on the drive up and the drive back. And then I spent the next few days recording the rest. Had it transcribed, got it just kind of set up as a manuscript. And then I got with the writer to help me to get it formatted and edited and stuff like that. We finished that book, fully finished the book in 2021. It was finished. I think by the end of 2021, it was done. I mean, because I had something else going on, so it wasn't really a priority. So I'm sitting here. I just got the first copy of the book. I actually ordered a bunch of them that I'm going to wind up, autographing and stuff like that. And but I got the first one yesterday. Why am I telling you this story? Because look, I would not have wrote a book just because I was in a career. I wouldn't have ever done it. Like, I wouldn't have written a book on accounting. I wouldn't have written a book on taxes. And I have a book that's in production right now for business. Like it's to talk about taxes. Now it's to talk beyond taxes, but it's to talk about it. It does introduce it. So, but I would have never, ever, ever. I would easily say I would have never written a book, any kind of book, had I not discovered a calling. Never. A calling. Like what is what is my calling? What's your calling? See, just like this morning, I had this resistance. Like I'm talking about the resistance was heavy. I'm like, guys, I do 500 push-ups a day. And for some reason, I'm always a little sore. Like I go to bed later than what I should go to bed. And so when I'm waking up, I'm tired. Like literally almost every day I'm tired. I got recordings to do. I've got gym to go to. I've got stuff to do. And The resistance was heavy this morning. It was so heavy that I'm like, I should just put this off. I shouldn't do it. I shouldn't talk about this today, where I wouldn't have had this same idea tomorrow had I waited. Okay, so what if you already have a career? You already have a career and you're not too sure about this calling. Well, here's the thing. More than likely, the calling has um, showed itself to you. It probably has. Now, I don't know what stage you are in life. I don't know how old you are. If you're in the Gen X, more than likely it's been shown to you. Now, sometimes when you're younger, you get it early. I've seen this happen where young people get their callings early and they go for it. Those people become very successful in life, like really super successful when they discover it early. Dr. Miles Monroe discovered his calling early. He was in his teens when he discovered his calling, and that's why he became so successful at what he was doing. He didn't waste time. Most people that find it early, like you can just look at the people that are I'm talking about unbelievably successful. They found their callings early. They found what makes them them early. But what if you were like me? You wasn't even on a path of a calling 40 years of your life. No calling, just straight up career. Straight up career. That's all I knew and that's all I had. So if you're like me, I'm 14 years in. When I say I'm not fully 14 years in, I'm 14 years into the shift, onto the road where the calling could be found. 14 years. So if I look at my journey now from Dr. Miles, wow. Now the what's better about where I am is I have more context. If Dr. Miles found his calling early at 14, 15, 16, he didn't have 40 years of context. So he just was a clean slate. Wherein I have 40 years of context, so that as I'm in my 14th year of being on the path, there's more context, which means that I can accelerate faster. So if you're that person, if you're a person that's already past 40, you got great context for your calling. If you're younger than that, hey, it doesn't matter where you start. It doesn't matter how much context you have, because you technically don't need it to discover your calling and to be great in your calling. What's so great about it is that no one can take your calling from you. No one can beat you to your calling. So there's no competition. There's no competition. There's just you in the discovery mode. So that knocks that out. Now, what I will guarantee is this. There's going to be resistance. There's going to be a lot of it. It's going to be a lot because especially getting yourself moving towards it, there's going to be some challenges. Even still today, I still have challenges. Like today, it was hard for me to do this recording. It was hard for me to come on and talk about this today. It was hard because something was pulling me back. Something said, nope, you don't got to do it today. Oh, you can take the day off. Why would I do that? Why would I do that when I have a calling on my life? So I wrote that book, Living Life on the Next Level, in 7 days, literally, from no words to, I guess the whole book is it's like 100 and I feel like that's not even the whole book. Is that the whole book? I don't know. I can't remember. I feel like there's more to that book. I think there was. I believe that this is like half of the book. If I got to go back to the data. I think we only published half of it. So it's about 130 pages. But anyway, let me wrap this up so that you can really take something away from this. One of the laws in the book, I'm going to skip all the way to the end, is the law of courage. See, in the law of courage, that's when like the rubber meets the road. That's why I'm speaking about this today, because even though like I had this resistance, but what I have to have now is courage, right? I have to have courage to do things that I've never done. I have to have courage to be consistent on things that I've never been consistent on. I have to have courage today to think differently than I've thought up until this date. I have to have courage to believe things about myself. And that's what you have to do as well once you get the book. Believe things about myself that have not been manifested. See, the law of courage comes because you've gone through a process, almost like a metamorphosis, and you get to the point where it says, be strong. Lord told Joshua, be strong, have courage. You were made for this. Don't worry. All you got to do is one thing. If you do this one thing, Joshua, you will have courage. And this is what he said to Joshua as we close today. He says, Joshua, keep the book of the law in your mouth. Meditate therein day and night. Be careful to do what it says. And you, Joshua, will make your way prosperous and have good success. Guys, don't just settle for a career. When a calling is possible and a calling will take you where you want to go, even if you've never been there. Be strong. Guys, I thank you for joining me for this episode of the Account for Life podcast. Jay Moore, the Healthy Accountant, helping you to account for your life. God bless, and I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
This has been the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the Healthy Accountant himself, Jay Moore. Until next time, make it a great day.